The government's cracking down on gangs. That might seem like a good thing. No one likes gangs, right? Well, gangs are bad. They add nothing and they make many people's lives miserable. Their basic premise is using force and fear to get their way. At their heart, they're violent and they seek to live outside the law. So fewer gang members would be a good thing, right? Right, but that's not what the so-called crackdown will achieve. In fact, it may do more harm than good. We think there may be some good ideas in these proposals, but we also have some concerns that we want listened to. I'm Duncan Webb. I'm the Justice spokesperson for the Labour Party. Here's what you need to know. The measures may seem tough, but they won't achieve the reduction in gang activity we want to see. They'll just divert police time and resources away from more serious crimes. If the gangs defy the gang patch ban, it'll undermine our trust in the law and government. Gang patch bans place our police in risky situations, and politicians should not be telling police how to do their job. And this is leading to a two-track justice system. Gangs, them and us. This will push gangs, and more importantly their families, away from the help they need. For people who have had a rough deal, who don't trust government, or who live on the fringes, this is pretty much an advertisement of where to sign up. This will increase gang numbers. Let's have a quick overview of what this crackdown is. 1. The gang patch ban. It's a ban on any patch or other symbol that shows affiliation to about 41 listed gangs. 2. The power to order any group of suspected gang members to disperse. It's intended as a tool to break up gang gatherings, and the order lasts for 7 days. 3. Non-consorting orders. Under these orders, the court can stop gang members from associating with each other for up to 3 years, provided they'd committed an offence. 4. A judge will be required to impose a tougher sentence on a gang member who commits an offence simply because they're a gang member. 5. Police can search gang members with a firearm protection order anytime, anywhere, and without reason. Let's take a look. First, banning gang patches. Gang patches are status symbols in gangs. They show affiliation and rank, and certainly seeing patched gang members swaggering about can be really intimidating. So if we ban gang patches and other insignia, will we stop these status symbols or reduce intimidation? Nope. A few other things might happen though. Well, police will be put in an awkward spot. To let gang members wear patches despite the ban would undermine the trust and authority of the police. But to demand that gang members remove patches is high conflict and therefore dangerous. Depatching gang members would take a lot of police to do it, especially at a big gang hui. Even if the ban stopped gang patches, what goes on overseas shows us that the identity and status of gang members in their community would still be obvious. For example, the West LA practice of wearing bandanas and caps of particular teams has already arrived in parts of New Zealand. Gangs would make sure that people who they wanted to impress or intimidate would certainly know who they were. So banning gang patches, costly, risky, ineffective. How about the dispersal order? That's the short-term order that the police can give to break up gang gatherings. In real terms, it'll suffer from many of the same problems. The reality is that the orders are most likely to be given after the gathering itself is finished, so that the police aren't at risk. But let's have a closer look here. What does the dispersal order give the police the power to do? Well, first, the police only have to suspect that the group are gang members. The order means you can't associate with any other people in that group for 7 days. The trigger for the order is pretty vague too. The test is that it's needed to avoid disrupting the activities of other members of the community. And lastly, in real terms, there's no ability to challenge the order. Any review has to be in writing to the police commissioner and take 3 days to process. Look, these orders are aimed at the kind of thuggery that's gone on at some gang gatherings, including Tangi, when gangs have made normal life impossible. But unfortunately, we need to think about how the power might be misused as well. Could it be used against people who aren't gang members or who want to hang out for perfectly legal purposes? The answer is yes. And we need to remember that the right to move and associate freely is an important one. There are already limits on illegal gatherings, such as the offence of disorderly assembly. These orders prohibit gatherings, any gathering of 3 people or more, that would be legal if anyone else did them. But because the participants are gang members, they can be broken up. So it's a different law for gang members than for you and me. What about the sentencing rule? Getting a tougher sentence simply because you have gang connections. Look, this is odd. Remember, these are not illegal organisations, and belonging to a gang is not itself illegal. The new rule seems a bit over the top. If there's a connection between the crime and gang membership, however loose, a judge can already take that into account and increase the sentence. So it's just weird to suggest a harsher sentence should be imposed on someone for being a gang member alone. For example, a gang member gets a tougher sentence for even a driving offence, say crashing their car because they were checking their phone. Not because of their conduct, but because of their association with a gang. The idea that the law should be rational is fundamental to its legitimacy, and getting a longer sentence for, say, careless use of a motor vehicle simply because you're a gang member doesn't meet the test. Let's have a look at the firearm protection order search power and run the bad cop test over it. Could it be subject to abuse? Look, the current search power allows a search of a car, house or person without a warrant if a constable has reasonable grounds to suspect that an offence is occurring, including an offence against the Arms Act. The new power has an incredibly low trigger. The only requirement is that the police officer suspects that the person may be subject to a firearms prohibition order. There's no need to suspect any law breaking at all. It's just a check-in, a bit of a look around at any time and at any place. Look, we certainly need to track down illegal arms, but that's not what this search does. There's no need to have any particular purpose for the search. And of course, this allows a search of a house, the whole house, including areas occupied by other people. So it amounts to its power to have a random search at any time. And if it's a car that's being searched, it can be a search of everyone in the car, whether that's a gang associate or family members. This is the very search that's at the heart of the right to be free from arbitrary search and seizure in the Bill of Rights Act, the rule that no one should be subject to a search for no reason, and it's been part of our law since the 17th century. Look, each of these increased powers taken alone might not seem too bad. Not good, but not truly outrageous. However, let's have a think about what this does when taken together. Gang members can be told what to wear, who they can meet, where they can meet, and if they commit an offence, they have a tougher sentence simply for being a gang member. And they can be subject to orders which allow them to be searched anywhere, at any time, even if they're doing nothing wrong. That adds up to gang members being subject to a different and tougher set of rules. Law for them and law for us. We can talk about this in different ways. We often talk about rights, the right to be free from unreasonable search, the right to freedom of association, and the right to freedom of expression. These are all restricted for gang members under these rules, but not for us. But there's a more fundamental way to think about it, and it's more concerning: equality before the law. We run the risk of creating a two-track society. Some of us are deserving of rights like free speech and freedom from arbitrary search and seizure, and others are not. Some of us are within the law and get its protection, and others are outside of the law and aren't protected. Look, the concept of an outlaw is not a Robin Hood fiction. It was a real concept from medieval times when people were stripped of legal protections. The irony is that these groupings are often called outlaw gangs for a reason, and many of the people these changes are aimed at are very attracted to the prospect of living outside of the law. And that's exactly where we're pushing them. If we create a New Zealand in which there is a gang society and a civil society, we're not only cutting off gang members from society, but also the partners and children of gang members. Those partners often need help the most, and we know that there are some good predictors of gang membership. Did you grow up in a gang family? Did you have a parent in prison? Was there violence in the home? Look, the minister's been told by his own ministry that this strategy won't work, that it's likely to increase gang membership and make it harder to help partners who are the victims of violence, and make it more difficult to help families break the cycle and give their kids a better life. What did the minister say when he was asked why he's continuing on with this crackdown? He said, and I quote, "We don't agree with that analysis." Addressing the problems caused by gangs is really hard. We do need to be tough on the illegal behaviours of gangs. At the same time, we need to provide a way out for kids, for partners, and ultimately for the gang members themselves to lead a life within society and within the law that's better for everyone. The current crackdown proposals do the opposite.